Hello everyone and welcome back to another book video, or I should just say welcome to a book video, because this is like my first solo sit down book video of the year, which is actually kind of insane because now we're like 5 months into the year. But I did try to film this video back in March and my audio got corrupted. I have some of the files, I have some stuff. We're gonna have to see how it goes in the editing process, but I'm refilming the main portions so that I can actually put this video together. I spent like 3 weeks reading, vlogging, filming, talking about books, and then my audio got ruined. So I was honestly gonna scrap this entire video, and then I felt like I actually really wanted to share it, and I really loved a lot of the books that I'm talking about here. So I'm just gonna pretend I'm going back in time and talking like I'm filming this for the first time. So, welcome to a video that I've been thinking about doing for the longest time, but honestly it intimidated me so much because I'm someone who likes to stay in my comfort zone. I'm gonna admit, not very adventurous. I'm not very keen and big on trying new things. Honestly, one of my biggest anxiety triggers is unfamiliar situations and trying new things. So I tend to not do that very often. In the case of books and stuff like that, trying new things isn't as scary because nothing bad can come from trying a new book, right? I was doing a lot of reflection in the beginning of this year because I've struggled with reading, like being put in reading slumps. Even though reading is my favorite thing to do, I always have a current read. If I don't have a current read, it feels like my life is falling apart. I read every single day, at least like a little bit. But I wasn't finding anything that was like inspiring me, making me want to continue reading, making me want to keep turning the page, making me want to sit and binge read a book. And I was seeing everyone else online reading like 30 books a month, and I was like, I can barely get through 3 books a month. It's been kind of driving me crazy because I'm like, is it me being lazy? I don't know what it was, but I genuinely just couldn't find any emotional connection to any books, which made me not want to pick up any books. And I realized I was reading a bunch of contemporary romance and a bunch of fantasy romances. In the beginning of this year, I reread Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and I tried to read Onyx Storm, and I was in the biggest slump ever that I just decided to put it down, and I still haven't finished it. And it's not even that I didn't like those books, it's something about it wasn't doing it for me. So I decided to do a reflection. I was looking through my old book journals, and I was realizing there's a theme between all the books that I've given 4.5 to 5 stars, which I'm very stingy with my 5 stars nowadays. Like, I think I gave like 3 books 5 stars last year. Like, it's very hard for me to really love a book. But I was looking at my book journals and realizing that so many of my 5 stars were not contemporary romances. And then I was like, wait, why are all my favorite books not my favorite genre? Is this my favorite genre? Like, I think it is. It will always be my comfort genre. Like, contemporary romance will always be like my thing. But there's a common theme between a lot of my favorite books. Like, you guys know my favorite book of all time, Everything I Know About Love, is a memoir, not a romance. It's like a book full of life lessons. Like, all of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, my favorites are Malibu Rising, Daisy Jones and the Six, and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Those are all not romances and all have very prevalent life lessons throughout them. Very well written. Same with Emily Henry. Emily Henry's are more leaning towards romance, but they're considered women's fiction. There's a lot more story to them than a normal contemporary romance. Those are some of my favorite books of all time. Like, those are 2 of my favorite authors. Same with Normal People, my favorite book ever. Honestly, that's the horror genre. Not actually, but like, it's just a character-driven story following 2 characters. Obviously, they have a romance, but it's not a contemporary romance at all. All of these books have common themes of like deep plots, life lessons, honestly like talk about the meaning of life a lot and like the human condition and like all things related to that. And like, they're books that made me like afterwards sit and think. Even reflecting on like my favorite contemporary romances of all time, they're always like the ones with like deeper trauma plots, side plots, found family, like the Addicted Calloway Sister series, the Boys of Tommen series, which are all long, very deep, very much more than romance stories. And I feel like that is what keeps me going. Reading a book and realizing there's a deep message and feeling like my life is changed after I read it. And I think my problem in 2024 that led into 2025 and why I felt like I was in such a slump is I was reading a lot of fantasies and a lot of contemporary romances that like, they were fun, but after I finished them, I wasn't like, that just altered my brain. I feel a different perspective towards life. I want to share this book with everyone I know. So it was hard for me to make book videos because I wasn't feeling inspired by what I was reading. I also feel like what happens to me is I know this about myself and I know what I like in a book, but when I know a book is gonna change my life, I like put it off. Like, it feels like a big task to read a more complex book for me. So I'd rather just like pick up a bunch of contemporary romances that don't like change my life and honestly all blend into one book in my head. Not that romances aren't deep, because there are a lot of very deep romances, and like, I do think the genre is very important, and I don't want to undermine that at all, because just because a book is fun doesn't mean it's not valid and a real book. Trust me, I'm a contemporary romance girl, I know it. But I have all these books that I've been collecting that I read the synopsis or I see someone talk about it or someone recommends to me and I'm like, that sounds like it's gonna change my life. I buy it and then it sits on my shelf because I'm like, I'm not ready for it to change my life. Like, I always feel like I need the perfect moment, the perfect situation to read like a more like introspective, is that the word, book? I don't know what it is. So then it would just never happen, and then I was just reading all these books that weren't doing anything for me. So I have collected all of these non-romance books. I have a whole stack. I'm gonna show you what we're working with. These are all books that I picked off my shelf because I'm a mood reader, and even though I only plan on reading probably like 4 or 5 of these in this video, I need choices, because like what if I read one and then I'm like, I need something different, and like in the moment I'm leaning towards one thing, and then you know how it is. So yeah, I have a bunch of books. As we go throughout this video, I'm probably just gonna like pick up a book. Hopefully I have the reading vlog footage of it. If the audio is not corrupted, if it is, it will just be me sitting and talking, and I hope that will be okay. Enjoy. I'm excited to talk about books again. I'm excited to be here with you. I'm torn between starting with the Midnight Library, because this has been on my TBR for like maybe 4 years, and I've literally owned the book for that whole time and just never done anything with it. Or do I want to read Dolly Alderton's other memoir, because Everything I Know About Love is one of my favorites, so I feel like this would be starting off with something I know I'm gonna like, and it's called On Love, Life, and Friendship. Like, that sounds so good, but I don't know. This is obviously just like a memoir nonfiction, and then this is fiction, just not a romance. I have no idea what this is about. I think I'm leaning towards the Midnight Library, because I want to start this video off with something fun and different, and not another memoir of something I know I'm gonna like. So The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Interesting, because this is written by a man. I don't think I've read a book written by a man in a very long time. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I have read since like Looking for Alaska by John Green. If I'm reading a romance, I'm gonna read a romance written by a woman. Sorry. But I guess if we're branching out, there's actually a few male authors in this stack, so we're really branching out. This says, Nora's life has been going from bad to worse. Then at the stroke of midnight on her last day on Earth, she finds herself transported to a library. There she is given the chance to undo her regrets and try out each of the lives she might have lived, which raises the ultimate question with infinite choices. What is the best way to live? I feel like this is about to like make me have a whole like reevaluation of my entire life, which sounds amazing. So I'll keep you posted. So The Midnight Library was the first book I picked up when going on my non-romance journey, and I'm so glad it was, because it set the precedent for this entire video, and it made me so excited and honestly find the spark and joy for reading again. And that's exactly what I needed, and it happened with the first book. So I'm so glad that this was the first one I chose. Honestly, blind reading it too. Like, I had no idea what it was about, no idea what it was going into it. But right away, when I opened this book and I saw the Sylvia Plath fig tree analogy on the first page, which, if you don't know, there's this whole essay written by Sylvia Plath. Basically, she says, like, you are the fig tree with all the branches, which are all your different lives that you could be living. And like, one's being a school teacher, and one's traveling the world, and one's being a Hollywood actress, and one's living a quiet, peaceful life, and one's living in the city, and one's living in the country, and one's living in Italy, and like all these different occupations and all these different lives that you wish you could be living, but you feel so overwhelmed with the fact that you can't decide what you want to do, that all the figs just end up falling off and you end up doing nothing. That's like the analogy of life, of like, people get so overwhelmed by all the choices, they don't choose anything. So when I saw that quote from that essay on one of the first pages, I knew I was gonna love this book, because that fig tree analogy has always resonated with me. So I knew that if that was like the moral of this book, that I was gonna really enjoy it. And that's exactly what this was. That was such a good comparison. This book is for the girls that romanticize their lives. Some people might think it's annoying, but like, this book genuinely taught me that that's the only way to live. You need to live your life like your normal, average routine. Like, even when I was back in school, or like whatever you're doing on a daily basis, you need to find things that make it feel worth living, because if you don't, you'll just get in this rut of feeling like your life is miserable and it's on a cycle. It's mundane and boring, and you'll start regretting things, and you'll make bad decisions, and you're in the mindset that everything sucks, so everything does suck. And that's where our main character Nora starts off in this book. Trigger warning though before you start it. It starts off right away with Nora, who's very depressed and contemplating suicide. So if that's not something you want to read, I would skip this one. But she decides that she wants to end her life. She's miserable. She has all these regrets. She has all these terrible things that have happened to her. She hates where she lives. She hates her job. She hates the decisions she's made to get her to where she is. And she's like, it's not worth living anymore. That's right in the beginning. She does it, but instead of like going to the afterlife or heaven or hell or just dying or whatever, she wakes up in a library. There are thousands and thousands of books, and each one tells the story of her life if she made a different decision. So she gets to go through this library and open these books and it's like a portal into this life. And she gets to see what all her different lives would be like if she made the opposite or the right decision in these situations that she regrets. So it shows what her life would have been like if she stayed with her ex-boyfriend. It showed what her life would have been like if she pursued becoming an Olympic swimmer. It shows what her life would be like if she had a certain relationship with her dad. She's trying to create this perfect life and thinking that she can change things to make her life perfect. She's famous in one of these lives. Like, she has all these different situations. There's so many good quotes in here. One of my favorites though, there's actually two, actually there's three that I can think of off the top of my head, which you know it's good if I can think of the quote right away. It says, "The thing is, what we consider to be the most successful route for us to take actually isn't. Because too often our view of success is about some external bullshit idea of achievement. An Olympic medal, the ideal husband, a good salary, and we have all these metrics that we try and reach. When really, success isn't something you measure, and life isn't a race you can win." There's another one about success too that says, "You could eat at the finest restaurants, you could partake in every sensual pleasure, you could sing on stage in Sao Paulo to 20,000 people, you could soak up whole thunderstorms of applause. You could travel to the ends of the earth, you could be followed by millions of people on the internet, you could win Olympic medals, but this was all meaningless without love." And when she thought of her root life, the fundamental problem with it, the thing that had left her vulnerable really, was the absence of love. And that is like, when I tell you the entire embodiment of this book, without like spoiling what happens in this book, that is the moral of the story. Like, if I had to sum up the book in one quote, it would literally be that, because she experiences these insane, crazy, perfect lives and realize that none of them are perfect. They all have their issues, and it all depends on how you view success. I feel like this book really dives into like the meaning of success, what people define as success. Is success like monetary? Is it about awards and medals? Is it about fame? Or is it just about being happy and loved? And she explores that whole idea in this book. I remember there's one quote, I literally have it on my wall over there, that says, "Never underestimate the big importance of small things." And that's what she ends up realizing is throughout this book, is like, she's like, nothing was wrong with her root life, like her original life, besides the absence of love. If you don't have love and community in your life, you won't be happy. And that's what she learns. I can choose to do that, and I can choose to see the good in everything, and I was simply just not doing that. If someone were to tell me that The Midnight Library was their favorite book, I would look at them and be like, I feel like I know everything about you. It's the same way when someone says Normal People is their favorite book, I'm like, I know everything about you. But yeah, I'd probably give this like 4.25. 4 stars out of 5. Like, sometimes it felt really self-helpy, which like is not my favorite, and like sometimes I was a little bit bored, but I love the overall message and I love the plot, and I thoroughly enjoyed The Midnight Library, and I definitely recommend it to you if any of that sounds up your alley. Okay, I'm returning to the stack now, and I genuinely have no idea what I want to read. I've added so many more books, as you can tell, to the stack. I'm going on a trip where I only have a 30-minute plane ride, so I think I'm gonna save this little book for that, because I think it'd be perfect to just read in one sitting, and I feel like this is an every morning the way home gets longer and longer, so I'm gonna save that for that. I don't know what I want to read. Okay, let's see what's intriguing me the most. I went through my shelves last night and I pulled so many more books. I feel like I should just show all the books I have in this stack. I found on my shelf like books I've been meaning to read, all about love, conversations on love. I do kind of want to read this in this video too. Oh my god, I want to read everything. What My Mother and I Don't Talk About. This is short stories. Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I've heard such good things about this series. I have no idea what it is though. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I've also heard really good things about that. Another Frederick Backman. This is Anxious People. I have 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. Everybody talks about this book. It's giving self-help though, so I don't know if I'm gonna like that. I have Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. Bear Town by that same author too. Too Soon Old, Too Late Smart. 30 True Things You Need to Know Now. I think I also might bring this when I go on my trip because it's super short. The Wedding People. I really want to read that. And then I have Devotions by Mary Oliver. I'm gonna be honest, I have been reading, this is a poetry book. I've read a bunch of the poems from this already, but I want to like actually read the whole thing. It's just hard to read a poetry book in one sitting. So this is gonna be one that I'm gonna like read throughout the weeks. So that one's also ongoing. Oh, I also have The Nightingale, but this is super long, so I probably won't get to it in this video. And then Dear Dolly, which I talked about earlier. But now I kind of want to read Conversations on Love more than I want to read Dear Dolly, because Dolly Alderton's also an author in this book. But I have so many that I want to read so bad, and this is what overwhelms me, because like I know I would probably love all of these books, so I just need to read them, and it doesn't have to be for a video. Like I can read these on my own time. I don't know why I'm like acting like only the books I choose in this video are going to be read. Also, just to show you, I guess, this is my other TBR of romances. I need to read this. These are new, these 3. And then I still haven't read Into the Dark, which is crazy. These have been on my TBR for the longest. I just need to read them. But yeah, that's my romance TBR if you were curious. I'm definitely reading Tuesdays with Morrie in this video, so should I just start that now? This has been a book that I've wanted to read since I was like 15, because when I was in high school, there was 3 different English classes. There was like regular English, honors English, and AP literature. I was in AP literature and we read different books, but I think the honors English or the regular English class, they read this book. Everybody was talking about it and I didn't have it as a required reading, and I don't know why. I just didn't read it for fun, because back then I wasn't really having time to read for fun, so I never read it. But I remember everybody talking about it and being like, this is the only book we've ever read in school that we like. So I wanted to read it, especially because it says an old man, a young man, and life's greatest lesson. But I also feel like this is gonna be sad. So do I want this to be like my beach read over the next weekend? Probably not. But also at the same time, like, this is my problem, is I'm always like, I need the perfect setting to read it. Like, just read it. I'm just gonna read it. We're reading Tuesdays with Morrie. Guys, we need to talk about Tuesdays with Morrie, because this new favorite book, definitely in my list of like top 10 books. I would recommend this to literally anyone. Boys, girls, moms, dads, kids, teenagers, old people. Everybody should read this book because it was so good. It was so good. And this book is based on like a true story. Like, this man, Mitch, wrote this about something that happened in his life. He was a student in college in like, I don't remember, like the 90s maybe, in college, and he had this professor. I think it was a sociology professor, some kind of like study like that. And they were super, super close when he was in school. He would like go to him for advice and help and whatever, and they kind of touch on that. The way this is written, like, oh my god, I'm just getting ahead of myself. The way it's written, first of all, is so poetic and so beautiful. Actually, just like at all times was like making me choke up just because the wording was so good. Mitch finds out that his old professor, Morrie, has a terminal illness, and he finds this out from the news because like Morrie did this little interview about like appreciating life while you have it. Mitch reaches out to him and they end up starting this thing. Every single Tuesday, Mitch flew across the country to go visit Morrie, and they'd have these discussions. And Morrie's just the most wise, optimistic, life-changing perspective. Like, it's just so good. And Mitch, from the very beginning of this book, he's so caught up in work. All he wants to do is grind, 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 make money, buy a nice house, buy a boat. Doesn't want to start a family, doesn't want to settle down, like just wants to live this like baller lifestyle to impress his coworkers, the other men around him. He like works in the sports journalism industry. And then him meeting with Morrie and Morrie being like, none of this matters. Like, when you die, are you really gonna care that you had a boat? Are you really gonna care about the nice car that you bought? Are you really gonna care about like the pay raise you got that one year? No, you're gonna care about your relationships with other people, how you made them feel, how they made you feel, the memories you made together. Each chapter has like a theme, because Mitch makes a list of all the things he wants to talk about with him, and they're all these like deep topics. I don't think I've ever annotated a book this much in my entire life. I think I've written on every single page. I have so many quotes I want to read to you. It's actually insane. I'm gonna make everybody I know read this book. I hope you know. Like, the first thing I did was text my mom. She'd read it like literally like 15 years ago or something. Okay, so these are the topics that they discuss, that Mitch makes a list of: death, fear, aging, greed, marriage, family, society, forgiveness, and a meaningful life. Each chapter, they pick a new topic to discuss. Mitch recorded all of these discussions, and that's how they came up with this book, and they called this like their final project, their final thesis of Morrie's life. For my romanticizing literally everything girls, this is exactly up our alley. Like, the way Morrie looks at the world is like how I want to look at the world. Like, he finds the good in everything. He's literally dying and he somehow finds the good in the fact that he's dying. I literally just opened, and the first thing I opened to is, I may be dying, but I am surrounded by loving, caring souls. And how many people can say that? Like, he just gives a whole new perspective, especially to Mitch, but then also to like the reader. The way you get meaning into your life is to devote yourself to loving others, devote yourself to your community around you, and devote yourself to creating something that gives you purpose and meaning. There's this one part, Morrie was telling the story about how one of his friends lost his hearing, and Morrie, because of his illness, is eventually gonna lose his speech. And Mitch is like, how are you guys gonna communicate if one of you can't talk and one of you can't hear? And Morrie's response is, we will hold hands. I need to find the quote. It was so good. One second. Yeah, here. He says, we will hold hands and there will be a lot of love passing between us. We've had 35 years of friendship. You don't need speech or hearing to feel that. Like, I just truly feel like this book actually just altered my brain chemistry, and this is exactly what I was looking for when I started doing this video. Like, I needed a book. Like, The Midnight Library was similar in premise, and I really loved that. But this was exactly what I was talking about. Like books that make me feel like I have a new appreciation for life. They both have the same kind of overall message though, now that I think about it. Like The Midnight Library, about appreciating the little things, and life is completely meaningless if you don't have love. It doesn't matter how successful you are monetarily if you don't have people that care about you, and if you don't care about people and you don't have a community. And that's like basically what this book is too. From all these different perspectives, I feel like the moral of the story is like life is meaningless without love. On the day that they talk about family, it says, the fact is there's no foundation, no secure ground upon which people can stand today if it isn't the family. It's become quite clear to me as I've been sick. If you don't have the support and love and caring and concern that you get from family, you don't have much at all. Love is so supremely important. I just want everyone I ever met to read this. Oh, I just love this book. Like I could read the whole thing to you right now. I was reading this on the beach. Tell me why my friends are sitting next to me. I have like tears in my eyes. I'm like, I'm sorry guys, like not to kill the vibe, but the guy in my book is dying and I can't take it right now. I need to tell you guys what I'm doing right now, because as I'm reading Tuesdays with Maury, I bought a second copy. I thrifted this, so that's why it has no dust jacket. So I decided I'm gonna give this to my best friend, and as I read this, I'm putting all the annotations that I put in mine in this one as well, so then I can keep mine and also give this one. I'm gonna go transfer some of my annotations into here. Not that I annotate much, but like just underlining and highlighting, and iDoggy are my favorite pages, okay? Don't yell at me. You know a book is incredible when before I even finish it, I've bought a second copy to give to someone else. Because I just know that I need to force everyone I know to read this. One of my favorite things to ask people is, if you had to live your perfect day, what would you do? And Mitch asked Maury this question, and I was so excited for his answer. And then the way I was so taken aback, because I've always answered, I think I've answered this question in a video before, probably like in a Vlogmas or something when I used to do questions of the day, but I always say like my perfect day would literally be doing like what I normally do, but all my friends and family would be there. I get to see everyone, I get to go to the beach, I get to see the sunset, like it would be like a normal day, but I would just appreciate it a million times more. And then Maury tells what his perfect day would be like, and he's like, I'd get up in the morning, do my exercise, have a lovely breakfast of sweet rolls and tea, go for a swim, then have my friends come over for lunch. I'd have them come over 1 or 2 at a time so we could talk about their families, their issues, talk about how much we mean to each other. I'd like to go for a walk in the garden with trees, watch their colors, watch the birds, take in the nature that I haven't seen in a long time now. In the evening, we'd all go together to a restaurant with some great pasta, and then we'd dance the rest of the night. I'd dance with all the wonderful dance partners out there until I was exhausted, and then I'd go home and have a deep, wonderful sleep. And Mitch said, that's it. And Maury said, that's it. In Mitch's head, he's like, it was so simple, so average. I was actually a little disappointed. I figured he'd fly to Italy or have lunch with the president or romp on the seashore or try every exotic thing he could think of. After all these months lying there unable to move a leg or a foot, how could he find perfection in such an average day? Then I realized this was the whole point. Oh, like it's so good. I have to stop or I'm just gonna read you this entire book right now, but you should go read it. And it will alter your brain chemistry as well. And I'm so glad I read this. This is exactly what I was looking for in this video. But yeah, I'm gonna stop talking about it now because now I'm just like turning this whole video into talking about this. The next book I read was The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. This was a recommendation from one of my friends. I was explaining to her certain situations that were going on in my life that I felt like I had no control over. And she was like, you need to let it happen. Have you heard of the Let Them Theory? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'd never heard of Mel Robbins or her podcast or anything. I still don't really like listen to podcasts, but like I read the book. We went to the bookstore together and I got the book. I feel like I'm give this book like a 3 out of 5 because I love the message and I think it's very valuable information, but I do think it's something I already know and like low-key common sense, which I always feel like that with self-help books. I feel like I've never read a self-help book that I'm like, that just changed my life. Usually when I read a self-help book or like I hear about a self-help book or like I read the premise of one or a quote from one, I'm like, well, yeah, I already knew that. It's good to hear it again, but like I already knew that. So that's kind of how I felt reading this. Everything I already knew, but sometimes it's good to like low-key have someone yell at you for it, or like not yell at you, but like reiterate it to you and like put it in their perspective. And like she was showing real life examples from her life and how she implemented this mindset in order to find peace in her life. I liked seeing it applied in other situations. If you don't know what the Let Them Theory is, it's literally what it's called. It's like people are going to act however they want to act and you have to let them. And you can't control people. You can't control situations most of the time. And you're going to be unhappy forever if you try to control people. You need to let people act however they're going to act. And then from there, you decide if you like them, if they're worth your time, if you want to be in a relationship with them, if you want to be in a friendship with them, if you want to cut them off, whatever. You can't change someone. You can obviously have like productive conversations, But there's only so many conversations you can have before you just have to let people be who they are and then let you decide how you're going to act on that situation. And that's what this book, the entire premise of this book is. And I think what she talks about in her podcast, I don't know. As you can see, I tabbed this up because there's so many situations in here that have directly like happened to me or people I know. And I was like, I need to tab that. Or there's just like a good quote where I was like, I need to reference that. This is one of those books too where I feel like with all self-help, like you don't have to read all in one sitting. Like you can read a chapter and then pick it up later and read a chapter because it's not like a story. I feel like a lot of chapters and stories weren't applicable to where I am at this present point in my life. Like there's a lot of stuff about marriage and kids and families. And also there's a lot of stuff that like I've been through in the past that was talked about in this. So like there were some chapters where I was just like, this doesn't apply to me. This doesn't apply to me. But I mean, it's still good to read. And like I wasn't bored reading it. But then there were some chapters where I was like, I needed to read that. I did need to read that because like even though I know it, seeing someone like tell you very bluntly like you need to let this happen, it was kind of like a little bit of a wake-up call. I feel like certain people too would really benefit from this mindset. Like if you're like a super people pleaser, or like someone who really wants to control situations, or you get really stressed out when things aren't going according to plan, or like you kind of script out interactions and when someone goes off script you get really overwhelmed. I feel like maybe this book would help you with that. I'm not normally the self-help kind of person though, so I think that's why it wasn't exactly my favorite. I know a lot of people like love and swear by this, but one thing that really resonated with me and I think about and I actually reference a lot, which is probably such an insignificant part of this book, there's situations where people get so stressed out, including myself, like you're stuck in a traffic jam, it's gonna take a really long time to get somewhere, or someone is walking really slow in front of you on the sidewalk or whatever. Like there's some situations that's like, okay, there's nothing you can do about it. So why are you letting yourself get so worked up, angry, and stressed out when you know there's nothing you can do? You just have to let it happen. Like sometimes I need to remind myself, and I think about that traffic example a lot because I hate being stuck in traffic. Like it really bothers me. And now every time I'm in traffic, I'm like, the time is gonna pass anyway. There's nothing I can do to get around these cars. I can't change the situation I'm in, so I just have to let it happen. Why would I ruin my day and get so worked up and angry if I just don't have to be? I just simply need to chill. There's also like whole chapters in here about relationships and like how the let them theory can apply to relationships. There's friendships, family relationships, and it's basically just like you're never going to be able to control people. As much as you want to, you can't. I felt like the relationship chapters I really enjoyed reading because it was interesting to see like the perspective of someone who's like ultimately in like a long-term successful relationship but has still had like trials in their marriage. And she kind of does, there's like a whole, I think the whole like last section of the book is relationships. And it's like, if you're ever confused in a relationship, if anyone ever makes you feel confused, they don't like you. And like, it's so blunt, like she'll just like tell a story and be like, they don't like you. If they make you confused, they don't like you. If they're playing games with you, they don't like you. If they're not taking you on a date, they don't like you. And like the point of that is like, why would you want to be with someone? Like, why are you trying to change someone? You keep arguing with someone, you keep trying to communicate with them, speak your mind, change them to be the person you want them to be, instead of just finding someone who's actually suitable for you. Because why would you want to be with someone who doesn't do these things for you naturally? People's behavior tells them how they feel about you. Like they can say they feel a certain way, but like they're acting a certain way and you have to let them act that way and then distance yourself from them. As far as self-help books go, I really do like the message. I was entertained while reading it. I think it's a valuable lesson. Probably not my favorite genre. Like I don't think I'll pick up another self-help book this year. That's that. Okay, the next book I read was And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer by Frederick Backman. This is the book that I ended up bringing on my last trip. So I had it on the airplane and I finished it in the 40 minutes it took to get to Atlanta. And I was almost crying on the plane. It's so short, and like if you look at the pages, there's like barely any words on each page and it's like that short. So I really finished it quickly. I really enjoyed it. This is the first book I've read by this author, and I owned so many of his books. So this made me really excited to get into the universe, get into his writing. Such a short and sweet little introduction. Basically this book, what I gathered from the author's note is he was never going to release this book, and he wrote it for himself to cope with the fact that his grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, I think. And he says, this is a story about memories and about letting go. It's a love letter and a slow farewell between a man and his grandson, and between a dad and his boy. I never meant for you to read it, to be quite honest. I just wrote it because I was trying to sort out my own thoughts. But it turned into a small tale of how I'm dealing with slowly losing the greatest minds I know, about missing someone who is still here, and how I wanted to explain it all to my children. It's about fear and love, and how they seem to go hand in hand most of the time. Most of all, it's about time, while you still have it. I read that and I was immediately like, oh no, I'm scared. It ended up being a really sweet, bittersweet story. Kind of makes you like think about, I want to say, the meaning of life again. Like all these books kind of have similar themes. Like genuinely this has another similar theme of like somebody that's about to die. Why am I reading all these books in this video about somebody that's about to die? This is the 3rd out of 4. The book starts off and you're super confused. You're like, where am I? What's going on and what's happening? And you're supposed to be confused because he's confused. The guy in this book, the grandpa. But you're in his brain. At first, I was so confused. And I hate being confused when I'm reading a book. Like, it's one of my pet peeves. Like, if I'm ever confused in a book, even if you're supposed to be confused, I hate it. Like, I just don't enjoy that style of book. I like knowing what's going on. I hate when there's like something you don't understand. But luckily, this book was so short, and probably within the first two chapters, they explain you're actually in his head. So you're not confused for long. This book explores the different relationships between the grandpa, his son, the father, and then the grandson, his son. The grandpa's diagnosed with Alzheimer's or something of that sort, and he's talking to the grandson, and they have a really great relationship. They've always understood each other. There's a complicated relationship between the dad and the grandpa. It's all told kind of in this dream-like way where you're in his head and you're using your imagination, you're seeing all the things he's seeing in his head, and then he's slowly losing his memory. It's called Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer because, like, the way to his memories is getting longer and longer, and he's saying his brain is shrinking. Like, the way he explains it, you'll only understand if you read it, but it's such a short, sweet book to make you appreciate life again. And it talks about love, and he was talking about him falling in love with the grandma who was also passed away, and how he hopes he'll never forget that memory, and that he hopes that's his last memory to go because it's like the most special to him. And it shows the different losses the grandpa's had in his life, things he's learned, and he has all these beautiful memories left, and he's sharing them with his grandson. I loved the way it was written. I can just tell that this author definitely explores like really deep themes about like human nature in his books. Like, I want to read more of them. I already know the synopsis of some of his other books, and I really need to pick them up because I know I'll enjoy them. I feel like this story is about like appreciating and holding on to memories because you don't know how long you'll have them, or you don't know how long you'll have the people in your life, or you don't even know how long you'll remember who you are or who they are. The same way that Tuesdays with Morrie was, it's similar but written in a completely different way. I think I'd give this one like 3.5 out of 5. It's like not my favorite book I've ever read, but it did make me cry. It made me emotional. I love the way it was written. I love the message of it. So yeah, it was just short, quick, easy, and I really recommend it. I feel like if you ever just want to read a book that's going to take you like a half hour, this is just perfect. There's really good quotes in here too. I really hope none of the other books that I'm going to pick up, I'm probably going to read one more book in this video, maybe 2. And I hope none of them have someone dying, because as much as I love what I've been reading, I want something a little less heavy. And maybe that's the problem with me blind picking these books, is why are they all turning out to be sad? Like, what? I don't know what to read next. Guys, oh my god, I'm gonna need you to excuse what I look like. I had to come do an update, and honestly, this might be the conclusion of this video because I've tried to read 2 books since the last time I spoke to you. First, well, we already talked about this. The Devotions by Mary Oliver. It's a poetry book, and I made it this far in. I read like this many, and I don't know if it's just poetry that's not for me or this book's not for me. A lot of this is about like, so far, it's about like religion and then her dog. Which is so random, but it's broken up into sections, and those are like the 2 sections I've read. And then I brought this with me to the beach this morning, and I was like, I don't think I like it. Actually, I don't know how I feel because I haven't given it enough chance to say that I don't like it, but I have no motivation to pick any more of it up. I've read a few random ones that I've like, so in the beginning there's like a guide to what sections are in here. Some of the titles like caught my eye, and then I read those and I liked a few of them, but I don't know. I don't think that this is for me. So I'm gonna not force myself to read it because that's how I end up in a slump again. Same thing with, I brought The Wedding People to the beach with me, so when I put that down, I picked this up. I read this much, and it's good, and I will probably pick it back up one day, but I cannot include it in this video because I can already tell it's the exact same premise as all the other books I've read in this video, because why is she already talking about killing herself in the first chapter? I can't do another one. I can't go 4 out of 5 books in a video where it's about someone dying. Like, I just can't do that to myself. So I think I'm gonna stop. And even though I have like this huge stack of books next to me, I honestly can feel myself low-key getting in a slump because I'm reading the same thing over and over again. And I think that happens to be my problem, is like I stick to one genre. I find a book I really like, and then I want to find a bunch of books like it, and then I don't switch it up, and then I get put in a slump. So I'm gonna stop reading that, and I think I'm gonna read a good old-fashioned romance. I'm gonna read the new Windy City series book. You know I love that series, so I feel like there's no way that I won't like this book. So I don't even have the physical copy. I have it on my Kindle, but it's a romance, so I'm not gonna include it in this video. I'm very excited to read it. So I'm gonna stop this video so I can start that. But I've had so much fun in this video, and I loved doing this style of video. It's helped me discover a new all-time favorite book, Tuesdays with Maury. I loved The Midnight Library. I was introduced to a new author, Frederick Bachman, that I know I'm gonna read a lot more of his books. I've read a self-help book. Like, I really feel like I was all over the place. I tried to read a poetry book, wasn't exactly for me. I'm gonna go back to a series that I know and love so I don't get put in a slump. But I just wanted to check in and say that because I think I'm gonna conclude this video here. Have no idea how I'm gonna edit this together, have no idea what this is gonna turn into, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. I miss talking about books, and I love being back talking about books. So let me know if any of those other books I talked about being on my TBR are ones that you think I should read next, because I'm building a summer TBR. Like, I'm so excited to have books to bring with me on vacation, because then you're forced to read that specific book and you can't like go off script. So, oh, you know what other book I started? I don't even have it because I brought it. Me and my friend went on a little reading date and I brought my book with me. I read the first 5 chapters of Eat, Pray, Love, which is so random because I've never seen the movie and I've never read the book, and I had no idea what it was about, but I started it, and like low-key I feel like I might continue reading it, and I could have included it in this video, but I really just want to rewind it back, so I'm not gonna like force myself to read something that I don't want to read right now. But I did also start Eat, Pray, Love because I was like, that's so summer vacation coded. I'm pretty sure the whole book is just follows a girl going on all these different trips over the span of a year, and she's like trying to discover herself after going through a breakup. So sounds good to me, but I'm not gonna read it right this second. I'm talking a lot, and I'm gonna end this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to follow me on my other social medias, they're all linked down below as always, and I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Bye.